everybody, welcome to our first ever episode of Game Set and Chat. Today we talk to ex-Cheadle Hulme High School student and professional cricketer George Balderson. So welcome George, thank you very much for giving up your time today.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, for those who might not know who you are, can you just explain a bit about you and maybe your journey into professional cricket?
Yeah, so I went to Cheadle Hulme High School, as you said, and I played cricket at Cheadle Hulme Cricket Club, which is just up the road. I was always there because my dad was playing for the club when I was younger, and naturally I sort of just fell into playing as well. Played my age group cricket at Cheadle Hulme and played for Cheshire, like age group cricket growing up. And then when I got to the age of 16, I got selected onto Lancashire's academy, which then led to me playing England under-19 cricket and then eventually getting a professional contract with Lancashire.
Nice. So you mentioned your parents then, were they having, or your dad in particular, was he a big influence on you getting into cricket?
Yeah, massively. If my dad wasn't there, I probably wouldn't have started playing cricket.
Yeah.
You know, I'd probably just have fallen into what everyone else did at school and played football.
Yeah.
But no, having my dad there and every Saturday watching him play, and then when his side were battered, he'd always bring a bag of balls and throw balls at me all day in the nets, and that's really where my love of cricket started and where I started to develop my skill.
So George, you were the first millennial to play for Lancashire Cricket First Team. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I guess I'm lucky that I was born after the millennium.
Yeah.
Probably there's younger people that have played other than me, but no, it's quite a good start. That I'm happy to have that on my CV. Yeah.
So what's life like at Lancashire Cricket Club? What's sort of your day to day? You wake up, you train. Like what's the life like as a professional sportsman?
Yeah, I mean it's probably better than working a 9 to 5 job, but no, the winters are quite long. Especially it has been over the last couple of years with COVID because we haven't been able to get abroad so much. So we train 5 days a week. There's a lot of gym stuff before Christmas, a lot of fitness, and sort of long hours in the indoor school, just focusing on specific skill work and trying to improve yourself as much as you can. And then when you get to around March, we go on a pre-season tour. We've just been in Dubai for the last couple of weeks.
Lovely.
And then you come back and you're into the swing of things in the summer. And in the summer, you don't really stop.
Yeah.
You're away travelling. You're playing 4-day games. You're away from home a lot, but it's very enjoyable. We're lucky we've got a really good set of lads at Lanc, so you know, being away from home and that sort of thing, it's not really difficult at all. You just sort of
nice.
You know, you're with your mates who you happen to be working with, and no, it's good fun.
Good. So obviously, I obviously know a bit about your background, sort of going to Cheadle Hulme High School, and I also know that when you were in sixth form, so and I hope you don't mind me saying, you are very, very academic. You're one of the brightest students that I've ever taught. And whilst you were in sixth form, you were also England 19's captain, which meant you toured all around the world during that period. How difficult was that?
Yeah, I think it's probably the hardest experience that I've had in cricket so far was probably being abroad and trying to manage my A-levels at the same time. I remember in my final year of A-levels, I spent 5 weeks in Antigua, came back for a week at Christmas, and then went out to South Africa for the Under-19 World Cup, and I was there for 6.5 weeks as well, which meant that I just missed out on so much content.
Yeah.
And teachers were trying to do their best to help me. They were emailing me the content. They were trying to get me to sort of work while I was abroad. But it's tough when your focus is somewhere else to then try and switch back to academia.
Yeah.
And you get the obvious distractions of you're on a beachfront hotel in Antigua. Am I going to sit? You know, you've got to try and have that motivation to, right, I'm going to sit inside and do a couple of hours of maths rather than going and sitting on the beach.
Yeah. And did you do that?
Well, maybe this is where my issues came. I probably should have been doing, but no. So I was targeted A-star in my A-levels and came out with BBC, which I guess I've still got 3 A-levels. I've still done pretty well.
Which, George, I know you're going to be very modest, but to get that after spending so much time away is still very, very impressive. That is really impressive.
Yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that I've got 3 A-levels, to be honest.
Yeah, and you should be.
I thought there was a chance that, you know, I might not even get any.
Was there ever a point where you knew you had to make that choice? So was there ever a point in that sort of 2 years whilst at sixth form where you knew that the cricket was the avenue you were going to take as opposed to concentrating on academia and going to university? Yeah,
so I was quite lucky, I guess. Lancashire offered me a 2-year contract when I was in my final year of my A-levels.
Okay.
So that gave me the sort of confirmation in my own mind that cricket's the route I'm going to go down. And even if I was to get 2 A stars and an A in my A levels, I wouldn't be going to university.
Yeah, yeah.
So that sort of reassurance, I think, it made a decision in my own head, and maybe subconsciously I didn't quite work as hard at my A levels as I could have done, because I knew that I had something else that I was falling back on already.
Do you have any regrets about doing it that way? I suppose that's a really stupid question, maybe, when you're doing really well in what you're currently doing.
There's a little bit in the back of my mind that thinks I could have done a little bit harder work in that final year, because you never know what's going to happen in the future. I'm still only 21.
I
could get an injury or whatever and have to fall back on my education.
And I think, sorry to interrupt, when we launched the Elite Pathway, that was something that we really made it clear to our young elite sports men and women, was that they all have a dream into becoming a professional sportsman or sportswoman or playing full-time sport, but actually there is the need to concentrate on your academics, because it could all end in one tackle, one incident, and it is still important, that, isn't it, to make sure our students are getting that. The sort of the academic side of being a sports person.
And I mean, I look at in our changing room at Lancashire at the moment, I think there's 3 or 4 lads who are doing part-time degrees at the moment with the Open University. So one of our, well, he'll be nearly 30 now, Keaton Jennings, he spent 9 years doing, I think it's some sort of accountancy or business degree with the Open University, and he just worked on that whenever he could, over them long winter months when we're training indoor. And he's come out of it with a degree, and it's something that I'm definitely looking at as well over the next few years. Whether I want to try and get a degree on the side of my cricket, because there is time to facilitate it within our schedule. So I feel like I'd be a bit stupid if I didn't look into it.
But you are young as well, George, so it could be that you concentrate on cricket and then you decide to do something after. That's always a possibility. Sort of back to Lancs, you have some very, very talented, I suppose, colleagues, the people that you play cricket with. What's it like being surrounded by those people? So, for example, Jimmy Anderson, what's it like sharing a changing room with him?
It's a lot of fun, to be honest. It's one of them things when he walks into the changing room, you get a little bit nervous as a young player. You don't really know what to say to him, but you just sort of watch him and the way he trains and the way he looks after himself, and you can learn so much from him. I played a second team game with him. I played a first team game with him last year that got rained off. We didn't play a day in 4 days. So I'm looking forward to hopefully this year getting out on the pitch with him and spending a bit more time around him.
Yeah, amazing. So what's the goal, George? What do you want to do? What's your sort of short-term ambitions?
I mean, a short-term ambition is to cement my place in the first team at Lancs. We've got a really strong squad. We are probably one of the biggest counties in the country, and it's not an easy team to get in and to stay in. So that's my short-term goals. But long-term, like every young player in the country, I want to play for England. I want to play Test cricket, and it's a long way off, and I've got to look after the short-term goals obviously first. But that's where I want to end up.
So we have actually a few cricketers on our elite pathway. If you could give them any sort of advice, any bit of advice for them to go on to play professional cricket, what would that be?
It sounds a bit cliche, but just to try and enjoy it as much as you can. It's
we've actually had that a lot. So always we speak to it, and I think that's a really important message.
I think cricket, unlike some others, is very mentally straining. You fail more times than you succeed.
And what do you mean by that?
So every time I walk out to bat, I want to score 100.
Okay.
And when I think about how many times I scored 100 last year, I scored 1. So every other time I've gone out to bat, in my own head, I've failed.
That's an interesting mindset.
So you end up having to find a way to deal with the failure. And try and sort of compartmentalise it in your own mind. Have I done the right things in training? Have I turned up with the right mindset? Have I given myself every chance to succeed? And then if you do and you fail, put it to the side and you go again the next day. And it's tough when you think about it. Like football, rugby, whatever, in a team sport, you can't really quantify having a bad game as well as you can in cricket. There is figures there that show you've done well, you've done badly.
I've never really looked at it like that. It's interesting.
So finding a way to deal with the failure is probably the hardest thing to do in cricket. And if you try and keep a smile on your face and stay positive towards the game and try and have fun, then I think you've got a better chance of succeeding. That's really nice. And you might have sort of answered this, George, but we sort of find a nice way to end the episode.
So, and this might sound ridiculous, you've been under sort of only 21, but if you could look back at your very sort of short life, is there anything that you would change? Could you give your younger self a bit of advice?
Oh, that's a great question.
Is there anything you
Yeah.
think where you see, actually, I could have done this a bit differently? Or, and I suppose that's really difficult because you've had a very sort of a really great school career
Yeah.
in terms of what you achieved. Your GCSEs were unbelievable. Okay, you didn't do as well as you wanted to do at A level, but they were still very good. And now you're playing professional cricket. That's very difficult. Was there anything that you could sort of pinpoint where you think, I could have just changed that a little bit, that could have had a better impact, or I could have done this slightly different?
Yeah, I think one thing maybe is when I was at that under-19 World Cup, we got knocked out in the group stage. It's the first time that England under-19s had ever been knocked out at group stage in the World Cup, and I was captain of the team. And I think maybe one thing that I'd slightly change is to not put too much pressure on myself at that point.
Yeah, nice.
And try to realise that it is under-19 cricket, and all 11 of us lads who were there have still got good long careers ahead of us.
Yeah.
And to not allow that to, I probably had a few months after that where I felt really sorry for myself.
Yeah.
But then I've sort of realised now since I've come back to Lancashire that it's not that important.
Yeah.
It's only youth cricket, and there's a long career ahead.
Did anyone help you with that? You must have a strong network around you
Yeah.
that helps that sort of very positive mindset where you can sort of put it back in your mind. And that's probably why you're a professional sportsman, is because you can do that. You must have a sort of a strong network around you.
Yeah, so family's a big one. But then also other players within the team. When I went back to Lancashire, you're around experienced players.
Yeah.
And they sort of spoke to me and said, look, that's gone now. No one's going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
There's, what matters now is what you're going to do over the next few months.
Yeah.
I think experienced players within a group play a massive role in helping young players. And that's definitely been the case for me.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time today, George, and all the best this season.
Thank you very much.